Hello. So, holy cannolis. You're like hit with a shitstorm. What do you do now? Life is just like one thing after the other. And what do you do? And I want to share a real quick tip. This is just going to be like a quick 5-minute live about what to do when that happens. Because you know what? This is something that I get asked a lot. This is something that I talk my clients through, and I want to share my number one tip. This is nothing super sexy. This isn't anything, whoa, the clouds are opening up, but it is profound when you actually implement it, okay? So, by the way, if you're new to me, my name is Isabel Strelzik. I'm a feminine cycle empowerment coach, and I help women go from overwhelmed and exhausted to joyfully and fiercely taking control of their lives. And, not to get into too many details about it because I don't want to bag you guys down with details, but we had a lot of things happen in the past 5 days in our family, in my personal life, and it resulted in us going down to New Jersey, which is 4.5-5 hour drive from us, last minute needing to drive down there, take some days off of work and do that, deal with that, come back up, just schedules went and has that ever happened to you? Have you ever just been here's my beautiful perfect schedule? Because if you know me, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I love a good schedule, you know that I love a good to-do list, and it just it's perfect and it's beautiful and it's color-coded, and then it just goes whoop, it just all falls apart. And so what do you do next? And I think that the number one thing is because when people come to me, and when I used to get overwhelmed and ugh, about these kinds of situations, and not that it was oh, this is so easy, over the weekend, but it used to paralyze me. And when I would get like that, I was all I need is a new strategy. All I need is just what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? How do I get all these things done? And I was looking for a quick and easy tip. You know what I mean? I was looking for another strategy, another how to. And what I really needed was I needed an internal shift. Oh, my cover is peeling and I just realized it. What I needed is an internal shift. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today, because that was the most powerful thing that I needed and that my clients need, and that helped them the most. Before you implement any sort of strategies, before you try to get things together and figure it out, this is the number one, and that is not being afraid to readjust. Okay, I read a fact last week, maybe the week before, and I was listening to this podcast, and so I can't say that this is totally factual. I'm just basing it off of them. Maybe should have fact checked it, but that's okay. Is that 99% of the time planes are off track. You're flying somewhere and they don't follow the exact path that they were planning on following. Who's ever been on a plane? They've been oh, we're getting in, 5 minutes early. We got in 5 minutes early, or we're getting in 5 minutes late, or whatever. Who has that ever happened to? That happens to me all the time. I have to fly home to my parents' house, so we fly at least 4 times a year. And every time, something's a little changed in the schedule. We're not leaving the exact minute that we said we would, but we still get there in time. And you always get to the destination, but that doesn't mean that the plane is following the exact track that they were going to, because of the winds, because of air traffic, whatever it may be. They have to adjust a little bit. And so not being afraid to adjust and recenter yourself, and to just be okay, there might be some things that fall to the wayside right now. In this shitstorm that we were dealing with over the weekend, my assistant was very, validly reaching out to me. She was hey, what do you need me to do for next week? What is the plan? Because normally over the weekends we have a call, we get together, we're okay, here's what we're doing. Here's the goals for next week, etc., etc. And she was hey, you haven't reached out to me. What do we need to do? And I was oh, Like that totally like left my mind, and that's okay. And being okay with the fact that like I could tell her, you know, okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit this week and kind of taper back a little bit, because she's really good about like helping me out and like bringing me leads, bringing me whatever. We don't need to get into the details of it, but she's really amazing at what she does, and what she does creates work for me, which is great. But I was like, I just can't handle it this week. So like, let's taper it back a little bit. You know, it's going to be okay for that ball to drop. It's going to be okay for us to just refocus a little bit. Everything's not going to fall apart. And I told her what was going on, and I was like, you know, just so you know, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And we just need to refocus a little bit. So the number one thing that you need to do when you're like, holy cannolis, what is happening with my life, is to be okay with refocusing and being okay with it not looking perfect, with your color-coded schedule going out the window, and you need to create something else. And that is okay. And that can take a while to like, especially if you're someone like me who's like super type A and your schedule is like your Bible, and you always have it with you all the time. It's always on your person. And if it's not in there, it might as well not exist. That can be difficult to do. But practice being okay with that when things happen, when life happens, with just saying, okay, how do we readjust? How do we adjust the sails a little bit? How do we refocus? What needs to change? And being okay with that. Just working on digesting and releasing that pressure, which again, is not always easy. And is not just like, it's really easy for me to say that, but it's hard to implement as someone who's had to implement that myself. So if you want to talk about that, if you want to talk about how do you actually do that? Like, how do you actually like internalize that? And you know, not just as easy as it is for me to say it. I open up my calendar for some more free coaching calls for this week. You can go ahead and head to bit.ly/flowchat30 if you want to book your free call, and we can talk about what does it actually take to implement that, to actually, you know, digest that, and to be okay with not everything going to plan, and to be okay with adjusting. And I'm going to drop that in the comments, but it's bit.ly/flowchat30. And if you got some value from today, let me know what was your aha moment below. Did you have a breakthrough? Were you like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense? Let me know below. I'd love to hear about it, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.